In today's video, we're going to look at the one and only Kevin Hart and break down his business framework, his real estate framework, and yes, his financial wealth framework. He has an absolute gem with Grant Cardone. He shares all of his thoughts. I have gone through this video a couple times, written my notes down. Cannot wait to share with you what we can learn from Kevin Hart as it relates to bettering our business, understanding real estate, and our financial wealth. Without further ado, let's dive in. I'm all fired up.
Very nice. Beautiful crowd, beautiful energy. This is amazing. Once again, hello.
Are you like a businessman disguised as a comedian?
I'm heavy business.
You're heavy business.
I'm heavy business. Heavy business disguised with personality. Here's my intel about business, okay? Everybody assumes that business is just corporate. Everybody assumes that business means an office building and it means the structure that goes into said entity. That's not. Business has so many different levels to it.
Yes, sir.
Business is selling Girl Scout cookies. Business is being a self-made chef that wants to put yourself in a position to cook for families. Business is being a teenager that wants to babysit. Business is understanding how to create something, own that, and make money from it. If you're doing that, you're running a business. From the simplest thing to the biggest thing, right?
It's good, man. It's good, man.
So,
take them to church.
So when you understand that, when you take these small things and you make these small things big things, your ideas start to grow as your businesses grow. For example, writing a joke is a business because that joke then becomes a comedy special. That comedy special becomes an IP. I own that IP, and I take that IP, and I sell that IP and license it to other platforms that will go and hold it for a set amount of times. They gotta give it back, which means I can continue to grow these IPs that all started from telling the jokes, which means that I now have a catalog. What's the benefit of a catalog? Benefit of a catalog is being able to put yourself in a position to deal with studios and networks at the highest level. You now have to respect me as a business. So when you see this and you understand that, you grow within it. So I'm now a businessman because I love to create. In the world of entertainment, you have no entertainment without creativity. So you need a me. You need a guy that's gonna come up with movie concepts, television concepts, and reasons to make the world laugh and feel better. I am now a necessity, which makes me an entity. I'm a fucking business. So respect me as that. That's the business. It's the truth.
I knew you were going to be good.
All right, so I wrote 3 things down as it relates to this. So number 1, you have to create something. Kevin Hart has gotten to where he is because he is his number 1 asset. And so from a business, you need to either create a product or a service. And that creativity and creation is super key. Number 2 is you need to own that. You need to have some type of equity. You need to have some type of upside on what you're creating. This is super key because you can create stuff, but if you're not tied, if money's not tied to that creation, at the end of the day, that's not a business. And then number 3 is you need to make money from that cash flow. He's talking to Grant Cardone, who's huge fan of cash flow. And at the end of the day, business is you have to create something, a service or a product. You have to have some type of ownership or upside in that. And then money's got to flow from that. That's Kevin Hart's 3-step business framework.
I knew this was going to be good. Why do you like real estate?
I love real estate. And, you know, real estate is just one thing that you know where your money is.
Yep.
That money's in the ground. So regardless of what's going on in the world, people are always going to need places to do business, places to live. They're always going to need places. So the more that you can achieve the buy or the ownership of these places, the more that you're always going to have revenue coming back to you. You're also putting yourself in a position to always go out and borrow or get.
This is key.
Because I have these things to leverage. So the more that you, I guess you would say, the more that you get, the more that you can do. And, you know, sometimes I think people think that it's a far-fetched goal to get. And it's not really. It's not that hard when you gain the understanding of it. The game of Monopoly is a real game.
Yep.
It's a real game. When you play Monopoly, the goal is to buy up as much property as you can and get people to pay you for that property when they land on it.
Rent.
That's the game. So let's say I do a movie, right?
All right, so what I'm going to do real quick, because then he's going to go into his business or his financial framework. Real estate, two things I wrote down is Kevin Hart loves the demand of real estate. And so the more that you own, the more that you get. So he loves that the fact of people always need a place to stay. And so he likes the demand of real estate. The other thing that he said that I think is really, really powerful is he talks about leverage. The more that you get, I think he should have said, the more that you have is the more that you can do. So if you have an asset, if you have something that there's demand for, you can then go out and leverage and get other people's money. And that 1-2 punch is one of the reasons why real estate is such a powerful asset to invest in and create cash flow.
That movie is whatever the it is. I make a nice amount of money to do a movie. Take that number, split that number in half. Half of that number goes to the government.
Suppressing.
That's our RS, no matter what.
So we're talking about 25 million becomes 12.
We can just call it a number. I don't want people to knock me in the head when I leave here. Let's just call it a number, okay? Let's say that number is a number. No matter what, when you make money, split it in half.
Yep.
Yeah.
Split it in half right away. Don't put the money in your bank account and look at it as you got all that money, because you don't. Half of that money is not yours. So right away, put it over here. Create a account, call it the tax account. Put half of that there, so as you make money, you always put this money in the tax account. I never got to worry of giving the government their money, because that money's over there, and I don't look at that like it's my money. I'm never gonna touch that money, because it's not mine, it's the government. So now off of my half, what do I wanna do? I'm gonna take another half. This half is going over here. This half is for my next real estate investment. I don't know what it is, I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm putting it over here, so when I do figure it out, I got it there to buy. So now I'm only living.
This is so ridiculous.
I'm only living off a quarter of my financial gain. I split it in half and I took a quarter. You only get in debt. You only get in debt when you don't understand the breakdown of your finances.
Guys, there is some nuggets here. This is my 3 framework takeaway from what Kevin talked about, his simple financial framework. So number 1 is he creates money. So he talks about being the entity. I believe that Kevin invests in himself. He sees himself as his number 1 asset. He even talks about creativity being so important and vital to business. And so obviously he creates wealth. He creates money. Number 2 is he's only living off of 25% of what he makes. Now you might say like, oh, that's like easy for Kevin to say. I think it's a great habit for us all to be in, like, is how can we live way below our means? He's living off of 25%, 1/4 of what he makes. And he also said he puts 50% over to the government. Now I'm sure that Kevin has tax strategists and attorneys that are able to bring that down for him. If not, he probably should totally look into that. But I think there's a lot of wisdom when you're in business to have a tax account, because this is something that crushes, especially new business owners, is they don't account for taxes. And a lot of times they can't pay their tax bill, which creates debt and which creates a lot of drag. And so he puts 50% over and calls it the government, account. And then he also invests 25%, and really a half of what he would say his money goes into investments. And he talks about he doesn't know what real estate yet. And I know for a fact Kevin Hart owns equity in businesses and he has other opportunities. And so imagine him putting money off to the side. It doesn't need to be deployed right away, but he's looking for opportunities to create more cash flow, create more entities. And it's that cycle. And then finally, his 25% is investing the rest. And so my simple 3-step framework for Kevin Hart's financial framework is number 1, create more money. Number 2, live off of 25%. And number 3, invest the difference and invest the rest into future cash flow and entities, whatever that entails. I was blown away because I never thought of Kevin Hart as someone who thought through his finances and was an investor. My respect for him has skyrocketed. And I just thought of what he talked about with real estate and his understanding of leverage and demand and his thought process on business and then how he thinks about money. I think these principles, if we apply in our own life, will be super key. And some of my biggest takeaways is don't undervalue your creativity. Really focus on create cash flow, create through providing value through your creative outlets or whatnot. And when it comes to investing, understand that demand matters. Invest in things that people are already raising their hand and saying, I want that. And if you're going to use leverage, make sure there's underlying demand backing that up. And then finally, live off of a fraction of what you make. If you take these principles, you will be wealthy, you will have more success, and you might not be as funny as Kevin Hart. I actually doubt you'll be nearly or close to as funny as he is, but you'll have a lot of success. And these are the principles that can compound for the future.